Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are really jumping into something quite ambitious. It's a huge intellectual synthesis we're going to cover. We're basically tracing this global philosophical journey.
Right.
It stretches from, 16th century China all the way to 20th century Brazil.
Yeah, quite a span.
And it's all focused on trying to define this idea called the pedagogy of conscience.
That's the core mission, yeah. And it's a pretty deep one. We're looking at a very specific personal intellectual path, which is detailed in something called Consciencological studies.
Consciencological studies.
Yeah, and the basic idea behind it is that trying to pin down conscience like it's some fixed method, well, that doesn't really work. Instead, this research sees conscience more as a universal path. A journey that really insightful thinkers have been on throughout all of human history.
A path, not a formula. I like that. And our sources, they kick this whole thing off by building this, foundational bridge.
Yeah, a really interesting one.
Between two figures who are worlds apart, really. 4 centuries, thousands of miles.
Right.
It starts by linking the critical work of Paulo Freire, the Brazilian educator.
Very influential.
With the really deep ancient Chinese thought of Wang Yang Ming, the Ming dynasty philosopher. It's quite a starting point.
It really is stunning when you first encounter it.
Yeah.
Let's maybe unpack that initial link a bit.
Please.
So for the researcher who mapped all this out, the initial spark actually came from the West, specifically from Freire, from his concept of conscientization, or conscientização in Portuguese.
Right, I've heard of that. It's about critical consciousness.
Exactly. Developing critical consciousness. Moving beyond just, passively being aware to actively understanding your reality socially, politically, historically.
Yeah, that's a powerful idea on its own, often linked to literacy, social justice, that kind of thing.
Precisely. But here's the interesting twist. Discovering that concept actually sent the researcher on what they called a dedicated Chinese return journey, intellectually speaking.
The Chinese return journey.
Yeah, and that's where they encountered the work of Wang Yang Ming and his pivotal focus on
Xingzui. So, we have this modern Western idea of critical awareness, leading straight back to a classical Chinese philosophy focused on the heart, or mind-heart.
That's it. And the terminology, how it gets translated, that's absolutely key here.
How so?
Because it immediately sets up this shared architecture. Wang Yang Ming is Xingzui.
Yeah.
It gets conceptually translated into English as Consciencology.
Consciencology, the study of conscience.
Right, based in that mind-heart concept.
Yeah.
But then conversely, when you take Freire's original term, Conscientização, and translate that into Chinese, becomes Liángxīn.
Liángxīn. What does that mean literally?
It means the study of the kind heart.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. So the words themselves almost perfectly mirror each other, suggesting they're talking about the same kind of, moral engine.
Exactly. Even though their primary focus feels different on the surface.
Right, because Freire's mechanism, it feels very external, very social. It's about using education, right, to awaken people to their reality.
That's the key distinction, yes.
Yeah.
If Freire is focused on the educational method and how it plays out socially, Wang Yang Ming's emphasis is almost entirely internal.
On the inner self.
Completely. His goal is cultivating that internal engine. It's all about fostering a kind and gentle heart. So the pedagogy, the teaching method, has to work through that internal compassionate core first.
A kind and gentle heart. That feels like the cornerstone then.
It absolutely is.
So this focus on the kind heart as the foundation for conscience, it makes you want to dig deeper into Wang Yang Ming himself. He must have had his own sources, right? He didn't just pull Xingzui out of thin air.
Oh, definitely not. He was a massive synthesizer himself.
Yeah.
If we zoom out a bit, Wang Yang Ming built his whole philosophy of the mind-heart by weaving together 3 much older, really foundational philosophical streams from Chinese antiquity.
Ah, okay. So there are roots deeper still.
Huge roots. These are like the 3 pillars that give his work its moral backbone and structure.
Right. This is where we probably need to slow down a bit, because we're talking about the real bedrock of Chinese ethics here. What are these 3 ancient influences feeding into Wang Yang Ming?
Okay, so the first one, probably the most recognizable in terms of social order and structure, is Confucius.
Confucius. Makes sense.
His method was all about perpetual education. But specifically, education adopted from the rituals and the systems of the incredibly long-lasting Zhou dynasty.
Yeah, we often just say Zhou dynasty, but you mentioned the researcher emphasized the length. It was like 800 years.
Exactly, 800 years. So just imagine Confucius was drawing on a societal structure that was so vast, so enduring.
That learning essentially became synonymous with tradition, with order, with how things are done.
Precisely. That incredible continuity fostered this belief that you could achieve moral refinement through structured learning, through ritual, learning to be ethical through continuous disciplined social action.
Okay, so that gives Wang Yang Ming a kind of model for how conscience behaves in society. Structure and learning from Confucius. What's pillar number 2?
The second pillar is Tao, primarily through the teachings we associate with Laozi.
Laozi and the Tao Te Ching.
Right. And where Confucius was focused on the human social setup, Tao's focus was, well, literally the Chinese ecology, the natural world.
Ecology. That's interesting. Not just human rules.
Not at all. It teaches that the path, the way, isn't found by sticking rigidly to human laws, but by aligning yourself with the natural, almost effortless flow of the universe.
Okay, so how does ecology feed into a pedagogy of conscience?
Yeah.
It brings in this huge non-human element.
It introduces the idea of scale and maybe naturalness.
Yeah.
It suggests that acting morally isn't just about following societal rules. It's also about having an intuitive grasp of your place within the bigger picture, the organic whole.
So a kind heart needs to be natural, not forced.
Exactly. It requires that quality of effortlessness in action, what they call wu wei.
Huh. That sounds like it could almost clash, though. The structured ritual approach of Confucius versus the fluid, natural flow of Tao.
Well, that's the genius of the synthesis, isn't it?
Oh.
Wang Yang Ming manages to hold them together in this dynamic tension.
Okay.
And then he brings in the third pillar, which totally broadens the scope again. That's Buddha, originally from India.
Buddha. Right. And the contribution there is?
Primarily, it's about human compassion. But, and this is critical, this compassion wasn't limited just to other humans.
Oh.
It extended to all species, all living organisms. It's a truly universal, boundless empathy. This gives the kind heart its ultimate ethical reach, you could say.
Wow. So Wang Yang Ming's foundation comes from emerging social order from Confucius, ecological alignment from Tao, and this universal species-spanning empathy from Buddha.
You got it?
That is an incredibly rich, sort of all-encompassing basis for the inner heart, isn't it?
It really is, and it serves its purpose perfectly.
Yeah.
Defining the ethical source of this pedagogy. But now, okay, we need to shift to the application.
Right. How does this inner structure actually engage with the world?
Exactly. The goal of the pedagogy of conscience, as the research frames it, is to seek out those successful paths, those methods, those disciplines used by insightful men and women throughout history.
And as the researcher kept tracing these paths, did they stay in the East?
No, actually. The journey led back west again, finding another really significant influence. The 17th century Dutch philosopher Baruch Spinoza.
Spinoza. Okay. His work on ethics. Why was that so important for this pedagogy?
Well, Spinoza provided this incredibly rigorous, almost mathematical structure for understanding how an internal moral state translates into external reasoned action.
Ah, like a logical framework.
Precisely. The researcher described his ethics as another path and another journey, because it offers this, well, almost geometrical way to analyze human emotions, desires, virtue. While Wang Yang Ming tells you what the heart should aim for kindness, Spinoza offers a kind of guide on how to rationally execute that kindness in really complex situations.
Okay, that integration makes a lot of sense. You need that Eastern foundation for the sort of intuitive source of kindness. And then maybe the Western framework for the logical, applied structure of making ethical choices.
That's a great way to put it. And this is why the research really hammers home that forming and shaping this pedagogy isn't like writing a rule book. It's a dynamic and organic matter.
Always evolving.
Always. It revolves around constantly sharing, discussing, and building upon the ideas and thinking of people who've walked this path throughout history.
Okay, so given how complex these sources are, 800-year dynasties, geometrical ethics, ancient philosophies, is there a simpler kind of actionable piece, something that boils this down for, daily life?
Yes, absolutely. The study does point to a really fundamental, maybe the simplest methodology for actually cultivating the heart. It's known as the Golden Trio.
Golden Trio.
Or sometimes the Golden Dynamics.
Yes.
This is really the operational core of the pedagogy.
All right, let's unpack this Golden Trio. What are these 3 dynamics and why golden?
Okay, so it starts with that core idea from Wang Yang Ming. When you're cultivating your heart, fostering kindness and gentility,
Yeah.
that kindness automatically generates two other essential dynamic factors. Kindness has to be the generator, according to the research.
Wait, hang on. Why does kindness have to be the generator? Couldn't, say, fairness come first? Or reason?
That's a good question.
Go.
The study suggests that without kindness as the source, without that foundational compassion we talked about with Buddha, then reason and fairness can become kind of detached, cold calculations, you know. They might achieve a sort of justice, but they lack that essential empathy, that warmth. Kindness is like the heat source that actually generates the moral concern in the first place.
I see. Okay, so kindness initiates the moral impulse, the action. But if kindness is the generator, what are the other two? The checks, maybe? To ensure it doesn't just become, I don't know, mushy or counterproductive?
Exactly. Those two other dynamic factors are, it must be reasonable and it must be fair.
Reasonable and fair.
Yes. The kindness you feel and express has to be filtered through reason, and the resulting action, the outcome, has to be fair.
Okay, so let me see if I get this. If I see someone struggling and I feel this wave of kindness wanting to help, the pedagogy says, I need to check that impulse against reason. Like, is this actually the most effective way to help? Is it practical?
Right.
And also check it against fairness. Like, am I helping this one person in a way that's maybe unfair to someone else? Or using resources unjustly?
Absolutely perfect. The three are inseparable. They work together. Think about it. Kindness without reason, that can lead to causing more harm or just chaos.
Yeah, I can see that.
And kindness that isn't fair. Maybe you're only kind to your friends, or you apply it unjustly that undermines the whole ethical project. Yeah. So the golden trio isn't just a checklist. It describes this constant necessary balancing act that makes the pedagogy work.
Kindness, reasonableness, fairness in dynamic balance.
That's the heart of it.
This has been, wow, quite a journey, a real deep dive, tracing this incredible global thread. We started with Freire, his modern push for critical awareness,
Right, in Brazil.
which somehow led us across the globe to Wang Yang Ming's Zhou, the study of the kind heart in China. Then we mapped his roots back through Confucius on social order, Laozi on our connection to nature, to ecology.
And Buddha on that universal compassion.
Right. Before weaving in Spinoza's rigorous framework for ethical reasoning from the West, it's quite a tapestry.
It really is. And the final synthesis, what the research concludes, is that developing this pedagogy of conscience isn't really about inventing something brand new.
It's more about discovery.
Exactly. It's about continuously seeking out and integrating these diverse historical paths that people have already explored. Conscience, viewed this way, it's never going to be some static method you can just, bottle and sell.
Right.
Conscience is the path itself. It's the ongoing dynamic journey of trying to integrate heart, reason, and ethics in, well, every moment.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now as you go about your day? We know that cultivating the heart requires this balance. Kindness, gentility, being reasonable, and being fair.
The golden trio.
Golden trio. So we want to leave you with just one final thought to maybe chew on. Given that you need all three working together, what stands out to you as the most challenging part of that dynamic to really maintain? When you try to apply this pedagogy of conscience in your daily interactions.
Yeah, what's the sticking point for you?
Is it mustering the initial courage just to be kind? Or is it the mental discipline needed to make sure your kindness stays reasonable, stays effective?
Or maybe it's that constant vigilance required to ensure every action, every decision is genuinely fair to everyone involved.
Kindness, reasonableness, or fairness? Which is the trickiest for you to keep in balance? That's your deep dive homework. Think about it. We'll catch you next time.